Good afternoon. It's Winterview, back again, yet again, with another brief dialogue with his dear friend Annastacey. This brief dialogue is on looking in the wrong direction. Looking in the wrong direction, or where to look, perhaps, as a motorcyclist drives right up my rear, speaking of looking in the wrong direction, and is now going to try and undertake me. Not too bright. Anyway, he seems to have thought better of that. Just backed off. That's right, buddy, you back off. This is a 1.3 litre engine. You don't know who you're messing with. Okay, so, looking in the wrong direction. This is a kind of story about seeking, about the quest for liberation, the spiritual journey, etc. That kind of thing. It often is a curious moment in the life of the seeker, when up until a certain point there had been perhaps no real interest in matters spiritual, and then one day something happens. Something seems to happen, at least. A thought takes a hold. A thought that was never there before takes a hold and will not be let go of, like a pit bull locking its jaw on a bone. I will not let go of this bone. It has been described by the great, so-called great, Indian mystic or guru Ramana Maharshi as your head is now in the lion's mouth, and that is it. And it's quite an apt way of framing it. This can apparently occur at least, to people for whom up until a certain point there'd been no interest or little interest in matters spiritual. There might have been a dabbling with religion in their youth because mum and dad had made them go to church, or perhaps they had to convince the local vicar that, yes, they really were dedicated Christians because they really wanted that church for their wedding. And that was about it. That was the end of the dabbling. And then one day, by chance, who knows how it would happen, perhaps a book, perhaps a TV show, perhaps a friend just casually mentioning it, perhaps even a strange experience where it's like this. It's like the question of, all my life I had thought that reality or the world was a certain way, and then one day doubt came in, and that's it. That's all it takes. For those of you who have seen the science fiction movie Inception, another great metaphor for the spiritual journey. The goal of the movie Inception, this is not a spoiler by the way, not a spoiler I promise, was that these action heroes, we'll call them, went into your mind, went into your imagination and dropped in a seed of an idea deep in your unconscious. And that was all it took to unravel a whole series or lifetime of events in your waking life, that is. So one little seed, and that is kind of how it is. It's a seed that's planted deep somewhere, maybe in the mind, maybe somewhere deeper, deep in your spiritual zone, where you suddenly doubt, or the question is raised, what if I'm not seeing the whole picture? What if there's something else? And that is it. That is it. You are on your way. You are on the spiritual journey now. The journey had always been going along, but in a different guise, a sort of, how do I make myself happy, more or less, in this life where things that are good and make me feel good are transient, fleeting, fading, constantly fading, and when the misery is always just around the corner, the loss of something that I value, is always just around the corner. That was the old journey, but now you're on a new one to find the truth. And it's hoped on this journey you will find the truth. And, as that wonderful saying goes, the truth will set you free. Not quite an accurate statement, but it's something like that, we hope. But the unfortunate thing, you might say, for the spiritual seeker is they tend not to look at the seeker themselves. Rather, using the mind, and the mind is not to blame, it's just doing what it does, looks into the world, looks into the world of appearances, the things in the world, and wonders, how can I manipulate the world, or manipulate my body, which is the same kind of thing, to get this desired spiritual result that I kind of don't really know what it is as well. The spiritual seeker, let's paint a sort of generic picture of seeking. We'll start very frequently in the bookstore. And we know, for those of us who know at least, who've been to a spiritual bookstore or two, or more, well, it's usually the internet these days, but let's call it the bookstore, we'll know that, by golly, there's a lot of spiritual books in the marketplace. How to discern, how to know, each author proclaiming some kind of authority. Indeed, even Winterview seems to be proclaiming some kind of knowledge, some kind of authority. It's inevitable that will be seen. It can't be helped. Yet, which of these so-called experts, and yes, I'll put myself in there just for the moment, a so-called expert, which of us is telling the truth? Which of us might be a bit deluded or self-serving? Which of us is trying to serve their own aggrandizement? Does it even matter? Does it matter if there's a sort of shonky guru figure, fake guru who wants your money? Does that matter? Will it impede your spiritual progress? What if this fake guru had a few little truisms that seemed more or less wise and made you feel a bit mushy in the heart? Is he doing something? Is she doing something? Does it matter? What if we went to the worst of the worst gurus? The ones who are purely in it for the money and the self-aggrandizement. They want to be worshipped and revered, and they have thousands of followers and drive fancy cars, and no one can speak to them because they're just so special. Do they have something to offer me on my spiritual journey? Maybe I should go the other way. Maybe I should have a very keen radar for these so-called guru charlatan figures, and what I need to do is go humble, or at least my guru needs to be humble. I need to go for a guru that is so obscure and so humble that no one's ever heard of him or her. Someone who doesn't even have a book. How would I find this person? Someone who doesn't even want me as a follower. I need that guru, because that is someone who smacks of humility. But now I'm puzzled, because I've just defined the spiritual surge. I've just said it's about humility versus arrogance and ego. Am I on the right path there? I don't know. Okay, that's a difficult one. Maybe we should go with powers. People who demonstrate powers. I should go with a book or a teaching where the teacher has some special gifts. Clairvoyance, teleportation, manifesting stuff out of nothing, touching people who fall over in a trance and wake up enlightened. These special powers. Maybe I should do that. But then I think, no, that's all just showmanship and something for the masses. Might even be fakery too. I need someone who's got no powers, someone who's ordinary. I need a middle-class white male who's a bit overweight, who drinks a bit too much wine at night, and has nothing special about him. Absolutely nothing. Plays golf. That's what I need. I need an ordinary guru. But now I'm stuck again because I'm defining the journey in terms of ordinariness and specialness. And so it goes on and on. How do I know? The mind gets in this quandary. Then I just look at the heavyweights. The heavyweights of historical, spiritual stuff, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Arjuna, from the same sort of ilk, Abraham, Moses, Muhammad. I'm trying to think of my heavyweights. Ramana Maharshi, Nisargadatta Maharaj, Eckhart Tolle, a modern heavyweight. Who's that other one with a funky name? Adyashanti. Heavyweights, big following, pull the big crowds, gotta pay good money. I don't know. What do they maybe I should look for the core teaching, the essence of their message, just ignoring the person. Person is, I'm pretty clever, I can figure out it's not about the person, it's about the message. But what is the core message? What am I looking for? And all this time, all this wondering, I notice, I think, that I'm still looking out into the world. Somewhere out in the world. But is there a world? Is there actually a world? Remember in my earlier dialogue about when the mind locks onto a point of reference. Once it locks onto a point of reference, it flows on from there. Yes, there is a world, is the point of reference. And from that point, it outflows effortlessly. I'm going to look in the world for a guru, a master, a teaching, all that. Yep. Gonna do that. Is there a world? Seems to be. What if there isn't a world? What if this appearance, this consciousness that is awake and aware and seems to be full of stuff, what if it is empty? Ultimately empty. Then what use is anything? What use is looking in the world? There's no point in sitting in a special position, in a sort of yoga position. No point in changing my diet. No point in visiting gurus. No point in buying books. No point in going to sacred places, saying prayers and mantras, and so on and so forth, if I don't even know that the world has any substance. If I don't even know that. And then there's one final thing that I'm not even sure of. I'm not even sure if this person that I take myself to be actually exists. I don't even know that. It seems to be the case, but it also seems to be the case that a lot of these spiritual type of speakers, Enlightenment talking peeps, are saying the same thing. There is no personal self. So if there is no personal self, then who or what is doing anything? Who or what is going to do a spiritual practice? And who or what expects a benefit from that? And if there was a benefit, to whom would it benefit? And what would be the result? I don't think I could make my voice go any higher. So perhaps the starting and ending point is that alone, that single point alone. What or who is the personal self that I take myself to be, noting that the language somehow makes it paradoxical. How can something that, let's say it doesn't exist, how can this something that does not exist do anything? And then why, therefore, is it seeking? Well, it's seeking because it seems to be the case. It seems to be that it exists. And because it exists, the seeking makes sense. Remember, it all flows out from the standpoint. If it exists, then there will be seeking. Seeking for what? Well, broadly speaking, improvement. Something better. Which suggests that this, as it is, as it exists, as in this world or this person, etc., is not okay. There's something wrong with it. If there is seeking, it must be for some type of improvement. And so now the paradox, the awful hopelessness arises. I don't know if there's a world. I don't know if there's a person. I don't know what I'm seeking, or for whom it would benefit, and to what end. I don't know any of that. And yet, despite not knowing any of that, it appears to be taking place. It appears to be going on. I appear to be seeking. Now, why do I say appear? Isn't it obvious? Aren't I actually doing it? No, it's not obvious. We don't know what's going on. It seems that there's a person seeking and doing stuff. It seems that way, but that's based on the assumption that a few things are factual, not least of which is the person themselves. And that's why it seems to be the case, because we've got a whole stack of assumptions there. So we can only say seems, really. Seems to. So I will, as a seeker, look for a solution to seeking. It can't be helped. I will look in the world inevitably. I'll look to these gurus, I'll look to tapes, and I'll look to books. I'll look to meditating, etc., etc. And perhaps one day there will be that so-called liberation. And what will I report then? Will I report that, yes, you have to do all that seeking? That seeking, you have to do it. Or would I report, it happened? It just happened, apparently, irrespective of my so-called ideas about it. It just happened. That seems to be more where it's pointing. If it's all happening spontaneously, without a person doing it, then meditating could happen, chanting could happen, changing one's diet, going to therapy, sitting in a sacred energy spot, getting one's body into a pose or a posture, breathing deeply, opening and closing chakras and channels and whatnot, seemingly could all happen, apparently all happen. And then one day it might be reported, yes, there is no self. But if it was reported there is no self, it would also be reported there never was. There never was. And the retrospective reporting on what happened up until that point would look very mysterious indeed. If there was never a self, if there was never a self and therefore there was never a world, then what the hell happened? What was happening all that time when I thought I was seeking? What was that? How mysterious. How mysterious. Anyway, I feel like I've come to the natural conclusion for this brief dialogue. The natural conclusion, whatever that is. That's code. That's secret code for I don't know what else to say on this at this point in time. I'll probably press stop on the record and think, oh, I should have said that as well. But, that's for another brief dialogue. Once again, thanks for listening. Apologies again, I was aware the quality of the road there was quite poor and it was making a hell of a vibration sound in the background. It's a beautiful day, here at least. I hope it is where you are, and you enjoy your Sunday as I'm enjoying my Sunday, bathing in the golden glow of liberation as I do. Just kidding. Thanks again for listening.